blah 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 blah. Anyway, so I did have a video planned that I was going to film, but I went outside and it was a little bit too dark, and my family was out there and they were like being too loud for filming. I mean, I don't blame them. That's just how it worked out. They just happened to be out there, so I was like, and I was a little bit embarrassed to do my silly skit because it's really not going to be good. But hey, it'll be a way to learn more editing stuff. So I decided I will do it tomorrow because I guess it's still sort of light outside, but it's dark enough that I need to have this extra light over here in order to film this. So instead, I decided that I'm going to start a flame war. My my least popular, or rather my most hated episode of this 30-day challenge so far has been the second Bloodborne stream, whenever I was saying stuff about how Nintendo's better, or blah blah blah. Like, I don't think they're actually better. I like Nintendo and Sony equally when it comes to their game systems. But yeah, that was the only one that got a dislike, and so I figured, hey, I'm gonna roll. I should keep that up. So today, I'm gonna talk about Android versus iPhone. Now I don't know if anyone here knows this, quite possibly you do if you had watched any of the Hash Pants stuff prior to this. Maybe it's that way prior. I don't know how this is flipped. Anyway, to this 30-day challenge, but I and my buddy Taylor that started the channel with me are both avid Android fans and very anti-Apple. We do not like Apple. I actually have grown to love their, well, not love, but I've grown to respect and appreciate a few things about Apple, in particular their computers, because they're really good for media production. In fact, I really, 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 really want to get one myself, so that's not going to be anytime soon. But when it comes to Android and iPhone, Android has consistently, aside from like a couple of things, Android has consistently had new stuff. Like, they've been the ones that are pushing the smartphone thing forward, while Apple has always been behind. Now, Apple is simpler, yes, so that makes it have a great mainstream appeal. They are very optimized, so it's very smooth, it's very, like, fluid, easy to use, like that kind of thing, and it makes it look like it's faster, like it's better, and they do have very, very good cameras. Android has consistently had to catch up to Apple when it comes to their cameras. But pretty much everything else, aside from the basic form factor itself, popularizing it anyway, it could be easily argued that, like, Nokia or Sony had smartphones before Apple did. But a lot of people consider those PDAs, and I don't know all of the details of that history. All I know is that Apple most certainly made the first really popular smartphone with the original iPhone. Or maybe it's like the second iPhone where it was really popular. Whatever. But other than those things, Android's got better screens. Android has better functionality. They were able to, for example, they had fingerprint sensors first. Now a very popular feature. They had a flash on their camera first. Very popular feature. They had better multitasking initially. Now it's around equal quality. It's easier to get an application on the App Store, even though that does sometimes mean that that Apple's apps are better quality. Often, well, at least they used to be. But now, all the same major companies are making apps for both Android and iPhone, so it's really not. iPhone does tend to get the apps first, but that's primarily because it's easier to monetize, because it's harder to sideload them and pirate them. And the user base, like, they have it very set up to where, since it's so strict and since it's not as saturated, it looks more appealing to a lot of companies, even though I would argue that saturation is schmaturation. Make a good fucking app. Because saturation is just going to gonna bring people down, make them not want to do it. But it's really, I mean, if you just make a good quality app and you put it onto the App Store, Google's App Store, or not the App Store, Google's Play Store is optimized for constantly rotating apps, and so even if you make if you just make an app and put it out there and you don't promote it too much, it's gonna show up in someone's view. Like, someone's gonna see it, and then it's just a matter of it being a really good quality app and someone taking the chance on it. And for that, it is, a little bit of marketing stuff, but it's primarily like a really good icon, a cool name, a good description, some solid screenshots and videos. And if you have those things, then someone's going to take a chance on it, and then if it's good, they're going to be, if it's good and they review it, then they'll download it, review it, it'll boost the rankings, blah blah blah. And they've got, Google's got a pretty good setup for that. I can't talk much about iPhones, but back to why iPhones are inferior. The screens still aren't as good. They every step of the way they've had to do they were second. I guess you could say that the Lightning connector was reversible before USB-C was. Yeah, I guess that's true, but to me that's not such a huge deal. Micro USB is still a solid connection. It's still just as fast as the Lightning connector. Yeah, I don't see that as a huge selling point to me. But pretty much everything, like their maps suck. Apple Maps, or at least they used to. I don't know, they've probably gotten better by now. I guess it goes to show how little I've used iPhones. I have used them. I haven't owned one myself, but I've used them for several hours to where I could get to know how things work. And I used to sell cell phones, so I used to have to troubleshoot people's iPhones and stuff. And the only thing that I really still see them having over Android is their simplicity. And even then, companies like Samsung are working on that. And I would say have done just as good. And they've also added a little bit more flash to it, to make so the screens do look better and have some cooler options, like the curved, or not curved display, but the whole edge display thing. Stuff like that. I don't know. I just think that Android is clearly better than iPhone. Now, if you are a Mac user, like their computers, then iPhone does do some cool things with that. And when it comes to the watches, I would say that, I don't know, I've never really been too into them, but from what I've used of them both, Apple does have some unique features that are cool, but the Android watches are just as awesome, and they are actually more accurate with some of the things, like some of the pedometer stuff, depending on the watch, of course. But I think the primary reason why all of this has happened is most people's number one complaint with Android, and that is that it is, what do you call it, fractured? I forgot what the term people use is, but where there's so many different phones that it's hard to make an app that is going to work on all the phones. And because of that, I forgot what the term was, whatever. Because of that, it makes it so it's less of an incentive for companies to make stuff for Android. But the thing is, that exact factor has actually also made it possible for people to do more unique stuff, for people to really push the phones forward, because it was more open, so they were able to take more chances and reach out further and do more, just more. And that's been the reason why Android is so capable of constantly moving it forward, moving the technology forward, while iPhone is always having to lag behind. But then again, I also see that is they're a really good balance. While Android will push it forward, iPhone will, over time, make it extremely solid for the mainstream audience, and in a lot of cases make things a little bit better that then Android has to work on. Even though Android came up with it first, Apple, in a sense, masters it, and then Android has to master it afterward. I would, once again, arguably say that Android, when they do master it, they master it better than iPhone does. But whatever, that's just my personal opinion. Regardless, it's pretty clear to me that Android has come up with new technologies a lot more often than iPhone has. Anyway, I know this was, once again, not a very researched post, at least not lately. I haven't researched smartphones in years, like a year and a half, 2 years so. But it's something that I'm still pretty passionate about, and I think I know at least a little bit about it, at least from the past. And I decide, hey, why the fuck not start another flame war? So if you think that I am just fucking wrong, you think that I'm stupid, and I have no idea what I'm talking about, tell me down below. Down in the comments. I want to hear it. I want people to just yell at me and be like, you're a fucking idiot. So I can, yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. I don't care. Subscribe if you want to hear more crazy rambles, and peace out, guys.